Okay, this is what your assignment says. If you did calculate the fifths, these were them. However, with such complex harmony, you would generally leave them out. So I'm going to remove them for now. Second of all, sometimes we use enharmonic equivalents. So we, instead of E sharp, we might notate an F, because that's just easier to read. That it happens. It depends on what's easiest to read. Same thing goes here. This is the augmented ninth, which would typically be C double sharp, and that's the symbol for a double sharp. But notating it as D is just much easier to read. So that's what I've got to say about these extensions. Now there are many more scales that you haven't learned yet, and these extensions are going to become important when we talk about those scales, and those scales are going to become important when we talk about what you would play over those chords, and how music is written with more than just the major and minor scales. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so let's start using C major. Now, instead of taking the letters, I want to take the numbers. Okay, now imagine we're going to use the same set of notes, but we're going to let a different note sound like the one. This can be done through rhythmic placement or through harmonic tension resolving to that place. But there are constructions we can use to do this. I will get into that, but for now, what would happen if a different note would be the one? Okay, let's say we would take D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. This scale is new to us. It looks like D minor, 1, 2, with a minor third, or 4, or 5. It also has a minor seventh, but there's no minor sixth. It was supposed to be B flat, but it's not. So it's higher than we expect it to be in a minor scale. This scale, minor with a major sixth, is Dorian. That is minor with a major sixth. Okay. We can take other scales from the C major scale. One we've already learned, minor. If we go from A to A, so if A sounds like the one, we're talking about A minor. However, major has a different name, and minor has a different name as well. It will be Aeolian. So that's Aeolian. So that's Aeolian. Now you might have noticed that the Dorian scale starts on the second note, and the second chord is also a minor chord. From C major or C major 7th to D minor or D minor 7th. So we've now taken the minor scales that go with D minor and A minor. But there's also E minor. E minor has its own scale. And when you start to calculate what the intervals have to be, you will very quickly find out that this one has a minor second. One of the few scales that does. This scale is called Phrygian, and it's a minor scale with a minor second. These are two of our new scales, Dorian and Phrygian. But there's two more. If we take F major, we would expect there to be a B flat again. This time there isn't. So our fourth note is higher than we expect it to be. It's an augmented fourth, not a perfect fourth, an augmented fourth. And this scale is called Lydian. Lydian has an augmented fourth. It's also called the Lydian fourth. That's one more. It's the G scale, and if we look at the G scale, we would expect there to be an F sharp in G major, but there isn't. So our seventh is lower than we expect it to be. So this is a major scale with a minor seventh, and it's called Mixolydian. There's one more scale. It's not used very commonly in pop music, but in jazz music it definitely has a place. It's called Locrian, and it starts on the only note we haven't started on yet, B. Let's take a look at this one together. we know our B chord has a 1, a minor third, and a diminished fifth. And we should know by now, having discussed seventh chords, that this is a minor seventh. So what do we have in between? Well, this can be quickly identified as a fourth. It's a whole tone up from the minor third, a half tone down from the diminished fifth, so as before. This is just a semitone above the 1. That's a minor second. The other scale that has a minor second, at least in this context. And then there's this one, the minor sixth. As you can see, every single note is lowered when compared to a major scale, except the fourth. In our next video, we will get back to that one. So, these are all the church modes. That's what they're called, church modes. They were used in church music. They came from that's the origin. Lydian, Mixolydian, Dorian, and Phrygian are the important ones for now, at least. Especially in pop music, they're definitely used. We already knew Aeonian and Aeolian, which is just basic minor and major. Locrian, you would play that over a half diminished chord, so that's used a bit more in jazz music, but in pop music you don't see it all that much. So Lydian, Mixolydian, Dorian, and Phrygian, those are the big ones.